There comes a season in life when the noise fades. Not because the world has grown quiet, but because God has gently stepped you away from it. This season does not come with celebration. It does not announce itself with miracles or applause. It often arrives disguised as silence, distance, and unanswered calls. You wake up one day and realize you are no longer surrounded the way you used to be. The conversations are fewer. The invitations stop coming. People you once leaned on no longer understand you. And you wonder quietly, why am I alone now, after all these years? This is not punishment. This is not rejection. This is divine isolation. At this stage of life, you have already known crowds. You have worked among people, provided for others, carried responsibilities that no one applauded. So when isolation comes now, it feels heavier, deeper. But hear this clearly. God does not isolate what He intends to discard. He isolates what He intends to refine. Isolation is not God stepping away from you. It is God stepping closer, quietly. Divine isolation rarely comes in youth. It comes after experience. Because only a seasoned heart can sit in silence without running back to noise. By now you've learned that not every voice deserves your attention. Not every opinion carries wisdom. And not every relationship is meant to last forever. This season comes when God is preparing to speak to you without interruption. One of the hardest things about this season is how personal it feels. You replay conversations in your mind. You question past decisions. You wonder if you failed somewhere. But divine isolation is not about your mistakes. It is about your focus. God removes distractions. Not because you are weak, but because what He is about to show you requires clarity. Throughout life, elevation always followed separation. Before wisdom deepens, God pulls you aside. Before peace settles, He removes chaos. Before clarity arrives, He turns down the volume of the world. This is the unseen preparation stage that few talk about, and even fewer understand. What feels like loss is often release. Some people were only assigned to a chapter, not the whole story. At this age, God is no longer building crowds around you. He is building depth within you. Your circle may shrink, but your discernment grows. Loneliness in this season is not meant to break you. It is meant to empty you of dependencies that no longer serve you. When the room gets quiet, you finally hear your own thoughts and God's voice beneath them. This is where wisdom matures. Earlier in life, everything was about striving, building, proving. Now God says, sit with me, not because your work is finished, but because your identity no longer needs validation. Rest becomes holy in this season. You may no longer be in the spotlight, but that does not mean you are insignificant. Some roles are visible, others are foundational. God often prepares mentors, intercessors, and quiet leaders. In isolation, what you are becoming matters more than what you are seen doing. You notice it slowly. The hunger for applause fades. Arguments no longer excite you. Proving yourself feels exhausting. Instead, you desire peace, truth, meaning. This is not aging. This is alignment. Isolation gives space for wounds you buried under responsibility to finally surface. Disappointments, regrets, unspoken grief. God heals these things, not through noise, but through stillness. Earlier, more was the goal. Now enough feels rich. Enough peace. Enough provision. Enough purpose. Divine isolation recalibrates desire, so your soul stops chasing what never satisfied it. You are no longer just your job, no longer just your role, no longer just what you provide. God peels back titles to reveal identity, who you are, when no one is watching. That is who He is speaking to now. In isolation, you obey without recognition. You stay faithful without encouragement. This is maturity. God trusts seasoned hearts with quiet obedience. Others may not understand your distance. They may call it coldness or change. But this is not withdrawal. This is realignment. Your soul is being repositioned toward what truly matters. In isolation, listening replaces speaking, discernment replaces reaction. You learn when to stay silent and when to speak with weight. Words gain gravity in this season. Not all legacies are loud. Some are lived out. In counsel given, wisdom shared, peace modeled, divine isolation shapes. A legacy of depth, not display. Isolation has a season. It is purposeful. But it is not permanent. God always sends you back. Changed. Wiser. Calmer. Unshakable. You may not see the next chapter yet, but when it arrives, you will step into it. Without confusion. Without fear. Without the need to prove anything. Because isolation taught you who you are when all else fell silent. In this season, comfort loses its power. You no longer need to hear what sounds good. You want what is true. Truth may sting at first, but it settles your soul. God knows that at this stage of life, you can handle truth without running from it. That is why isolation sharpens honesty. You notice something different. Your prayers become shorter, but deeper. Less asking, more listening. You no longer rush God with lists. You sit with Him in silence. This is not dryness. This is intimacy. What others think no longer controls your peace. Criticism doesn't wound like before. Praise doesn't inflate you. Isolation teaches emotional freedom. You learn to stand steady, even when misunderstood. At first, the slowing feels frustrating. You were once always moving, always needed. Now God removes urgency. Not because time is running out, but because wisdom requires pace. Slowness protects what speed destroys. You no longer see people as enemies or heroes. You see them as human, flawed, wounded, searching. Isolation matures compassion, without weakening discernment. Earlier, you defended your choices. Now, silence feels stronger. You realize that those who understand do not need explanations, and those who don't never truly listen anyway. Peace replaces defense. Success is no longer about numbers, status, or visibility. It becomes about alignment. Sleeping well, living honestly, standing clean before God. This definition lasts longer. Isolation prepares you to walk alone when necessary. You stop correcting every assumption, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Mature strength does not announce itself. Habits that once ruled you lose their grip, not through force, but through awareness. Isolation exposes patterns without condemning you. Freedom comes quietly. You stop rushing the future. You stop regretting the past. You begin to live fully in the present moment. Isolation teaches eternity without ignoring today. Not everything needs resolution. Some questions remain without stealing your peace. Isolation builds trust beyond explanation. Faith matures here. You realize closure doesn't always come from people. Some chapters end without conversations. God becomes your closure. You don't raise your voice to prove strength. You don't threaten to show power. Strength now looks like restraint, patience, and discernment. Isolation polishes authority. You stop gripping tightly to outcomes, relationships, or roles. You trust God enough to release control. Isolation teaches surrender without fear. Some environments begin to feel uncomfortable, not because they are bad, but because you've outgrown them. Isolation is God's way of escorting you forward. When you speak now, people listen. Because your words are filtered through experience, silence, and prayer. Isolation refines speech, not with instructions, but with presence. Not with advice, but with wisdom lived out. People may not know why, but they feel safe around you. Isolation prepares shepherds. Regret loses its power. You no longer wish to relive chapters. You honor them without dwelling in them. Isolation heals memory. You stop engaging in every conflict. You choose peace over pride. Isolation teaches you where your energy belongs. Your outer world may look smaller, but your inner world expands. Thoughts become clearer. Emotions settle. Depth replaces chaos. Even when nothing changes outwardly, you are steady, because presence outweighs proof. Isolation teaches contentment, without stagnation. Not rigid, not cold, but anchored. Winds come, storms pass. You remain. Small moments carry meaning. Delays feel intentional. Interruptions feel guided. Isolation sharpens spiritual sight. You no longer ask if it's okay to change. You no longer apologize for growth. Isolation grants confidence. Your influence will not be loud. It will be lasting. It will reach people who recognize depth. Isolation prepares legacy. You stop asking, "How long?" You start asking, "What are you teaching me?" Isolation rewires expectation. Looking back, you see God was closest when others were absent. Isolation reveals companionship you overlooked before. Earlier, silence made you uneasy. Now, it feels honest. You no longer rush to fill the space with noise, opinions, or distractions. You understand that silence is where truth speaks without interruption. Divine isolation trains you to live comfortably in stillness. You still feel deeply, but you are no longer ruled by emotion. Reactions soften, responses mature. Isolation teaches emotional balance without making you numb. Looking back, you realize how many things you asked for would have cost you peace. What once felt like denial now looks like protection. Isolation gives you clarity to see God's wisdom in restraint. Earlier, you tried to solve everything. Now you know your limits. Isolation teaches surrender without defeat. You place heavy matters into God's hands and sleep without anxiety. You no longer try to stay relevant. You become rooted. Your value is no longer measured by trends, speed, or approval. Isolation establishes dignity. Not every season requires exertion. Some require preservation. Isolation protects you from unnecessary battles. Your strength is being stored for what truly matters. You notice small mercies, morning light, quiet meals, unspoken kindness. Isolation sharpens gratitude without sentimentality. You no longer burn bridges. You leave quietly. Isolation teaches graceful exits without resentment. Comparison loses its grip. You understand that journeys differ. Timelines vary. Callings are unique. Isolation restores self-respect. Not everything meaningful is noticeable. Some of God's greatest work happens beneath the surface. Isolation aligns you with unseen progress. Peace is not accidental. It is chosen, protected, maintained. Isolation teaches you to guard your inner world. You see through performance. You recognize substance. Isolation sharpens discernment without cynicism. Earlier, you rushed to act. Now you wait to hear. Isolation trains patience without passivity. You accept your limits without guilt. You serve where you are assigned, not where you are pressured. Isolation teaches healthy boundaries. Life becomes lighter when excess falls away. Fewer words, fewer obligations, clearer priorities. Isolation declutters the soul. Delays no longer feel cruel, they feel considered. Isolation helps you see how timing protects maturity. You trust that what God assigns to you will find you. Isolation builds quiet confidence, not through grand moments, but faithful ones. Isolation shapes consistency, without pressure. Pretending feels heavy, truth feels light. Isolation frees you to live without masks. Looking at yourself now, you see calm where there was tension, clarity where there was confusion. Isolation did not take from you, it prepared you. Only now does it start to make sense. If God had elevated you earlier, you might have carried old wounds into new responsibility. If He had promoted you sooner, you might have relied on strength instead of wisdom. Isolation was not delay, it was protection. God hid you long enough for your character to catch up with your calling. There were seasons when prayers felt unanswered, when progress felt invisible. But isolation teaches you this truth. Just because you couldn't see movement doesn't mean nothing was happening. Roots grow in darkness. Foundations are laid underground. God was doing His deepest work when your life looked still. For years, you carried guilt that wasn't yours. You took responsibility for other people's choices, other people's failures, other people's expectations. Isolation releases you from false responsibility. You learn to say, quietly and firmly, "That was never mine to carry." You no longer need constant advice. Not because you know everything, but because you know how to listen. Isolation sharpens your inner compass. Discernment replaces confusion. You learn to pause before deciding, to sense before acting, to wait without anxiety. At one time, you begged for certain doors to open. Now you thank God they didn't. Some opportunities looked promising, but carried hidden costs. Peace, family, integrity, health. Isolation reveals that closed doors were mercy, not loss. Earlier, faith felt like endurance. You believed by pushing through pain, by surviving storms, by holding on with clenched fists. Now, faith looks different. It looks like trust without tension, like peace without explanation. Isolation matures faith, from survival to surrender. Urgency used to drive you. Fear disguised itself as responsibility. Isolation teaches you that God does not rush, does not pressure, does not manipulate. His voice is steady, calm, grounded. When you feel panic, you learn to wait, because God's direction always carries peace. Some people only knew a version of you that no longer exists. Isolation helps you release the need to be fully understood by everyone. Understanding is rare. Alignment is enough. God does not require universal approval for divine purpose. The world celebrates fast results. Isolation teaches you the beauty of slow growth. Wisdom takes time. Healing takes patience. Character cannot be rushed. You stop envying quick success because you understand what it often lacks. There is a difference. Silencing removes voice. Quieting refines it. God did not take your voice away. He purified it. Isolation removes unnecessary words. So when you speak, your words carry weight, not noise. Earlier, you wanted clarity before obedience. Now you obey with partial understanding. Isolation teaches faith. That does not demand full explanation. You walk step by step, confident that God reveals enough. For today, this season did not come to weaken you. It came to steady you. In the quiet you learned what noise could never teach. You discovered that peace is strength, and stillness is not emptiness. You may not have all the answers, but you now carry clarity. You may not feel rushed anymore, but you are ready. Divine isolation did not take your place in the world. It refined it. And when you step forward again, you will not move in haste or fear. You will move in wisdom. Grounded, calm, and sure,